Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some rabbit... That's against the rules.
Farina just ran off! Quick, we have to This Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here! Quick, come to Paimon before the rest of them catch up to you!
What? Oh,
Hurry, they're almost here!
fine. I suppose haste is...
Paimon's exhausted.
I'm so tired. I totally thought they had caught me. No! I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening?
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's happening again.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Neuvillette made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother this time.
Yeah, but the people of Poisson, they've already... It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years. I once had informants all over Teyvat. I've tried all kinds of, but all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way, and the prophecy shall be fulfilled. Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. It would mean finally coming to terms with fate, but also for me to finally be free. Indeed. I've thought about giving up so many times. Fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. The prophecy has only just started to come true, and so many people have already lost their lives. But just now, it all became clear to me. I still don't have the right to come to terms with fate on behalf of everyone else. As long as the final moment hasn't come, it's still not too late. Don't worry. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden, but honestly, considering my rank and station, that wasn't a good fit at all. Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let
Come on! Paimon could have sworn you were actually being on.
Share That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone. A witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Teyvat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here. And if Teyvat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a If that's the case... I...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So, this is what it is. Yes, you deserve praise for the effort you took to raise the dramatic stakes. Do not forget, however, that I am Focalors, the god of justice, the embodiment of justice itself. Does it not—
May I interpret these words as your refusal? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an Archon surrender to a human?
Wow, how
Lady Furina, what is the meaning?
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding. To be clear,
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my I will admit that I've been running away. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. It is my duty to stand trial for my crimes. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. I too. But now, it is time for the Hydro Archon to show you her courage and resolve. I, Furina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice! This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice! One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the Opera Epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes. Mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine! The trial of the Hydro Archon, Focalors, will now begin!
Woohoo!
Oh, now we're making history!
Why does it feel like Furina just took over the whole thing? Like, come on! Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic, she is taking this serious—
All right, then. Who will be—
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness of— Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial begins. Just how much work did you do to force me onto—
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
Navia, the president of the Spina di Rosula.
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect opportunity to incite insurrection against you. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would likely flee So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait there.
So, you mean, the ones who scoured the settlement for me were also
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the greatest magic performance in all of Fontanian.
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's—
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the Opera Epic, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Aranias. Its cargo, of course, was an Archon instead of a human. My thanks, Furina. Without your help, we could never have—
You're welcome?
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water. It was a lot of work for all of us.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the giant magic box was just a normal—
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight. Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without—
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon.
Thank you.
As for you, Traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted with conversation once you found me in Poisson. You'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto the stage. Oh? Is that so? Then I suppose I must have— It's fine. It matters not. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Hey, Charlotte! Oh, Leb Hymancy! Isn't this the Wait, then that means this document is a perfect timeline of everything that's happened ever since we stepped. So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence every time we want to use something from our journey as evidence for an argument. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You did. This is the first time Monsieur Neuvillette had a difference of opinion with the Oratrice. Even the Hydro Arc. According to the words of someone as extraordinary.
And the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Neuvillette. There's no need. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Furina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking it.
Charge accepted. Lady Furina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Furina.
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty? There is no way that I, Focalors, otherwise known as Furina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah. Even though Lady Furina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Furina can be super irresponsible, but what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they were born. There would be no fooling their memory. See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation. We will treat everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and move on with our lives. What do you say to that?
Huh. An argument with near impossible odds, huh? You have to not only refute Furina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. If you believe I'm not the Archon, then what manner of being do you think I am? And if I was not the Archon...
That doesn't sound right. First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan. And second of all, even if that...
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
Neverlet sensed it too, huh?
Lady Furina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like... Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession... They're worshipped as gods. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the endemnitium that is used in every aspect of life.
You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the...
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend. There is no...
Lady Furina, I believe a reminder of your current while the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are you will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against...
I never thought you'd use...
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Furina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Childe was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. And it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
My power as an Archon. There are many—
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the—
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the—
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into Indemnitium! Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily life.
Isn't that?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Furina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone! Please. I'm still the same Furina you knew, right? The one that you loved! Shouldn't you want to, please? You've got to believe me!
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed—
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our ancestors?
Enough! That's enough! Tell me then, if I'm not the real— If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be—
Wow, she came up with yet another argument! It has been established that all Fontanians can dissolve—
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to—
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor, you must still adhere to proper procedure.
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. I swear this really will be the last time that Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago. Including those of some of— So, Miss Furina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Furina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us. Would she really?
Lady Furina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings,
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word.
What's going on? Is she really planning to...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Furina, you may...
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here! I haven't been dissolved! Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon! I'm nothing like a normal human who would fall apart as soon as they touch this water!
Miss Sigewinne, if you are present, Miss...
Siege? Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Furina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent...
Thank you, Miss Sigewinne. Lady Furina, you may
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to...
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely... We don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Furina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Furina could have...
I can't believe... You... Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. What happened just now didn't prove a single thing. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater? Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Furina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone who's two-stepped against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Furina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Furina is... guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale.
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
No, the Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus: to be punished via the death sentence.
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we...
Furina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things.
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Furina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of...
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial...
Freminet! Oh, you finally made it.
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigned...
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Freminet to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time, but has the trial already concluded? Then... doesn't that mean I've come too late?
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Freminet. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Huh? So what do you see?
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine.
Just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Furina, and we've... so when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the... Slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Ocean... Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then... The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But... the heavens still brought judgment down upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and... The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded by many... That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch... Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy of the Fontainians. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we?
We know from the case of the and the first stone slate tells us that long ago the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Ocean. This might be the reason that Fontainian... The prophecy from the stone slates found the fortress. If we... Perhaps what is about to take place has all and the original... It's not as simple as... When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was... The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that...
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The stone slate's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light.
Let's hear them.
Incredible. Lyney.
We're not real humans.
All Fontainians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontainians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial, all of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
Yeah, isn't the image here just... So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything... truth. I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not want to give in. She eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanid's blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanid. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing.
Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating...
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontainian, but it...
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the 3rd and 4th stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the 3rd slate is how all the individuals depict... They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to... Therefore, the meaning of the 3rd slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice. Yes, it refers to...
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decide in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the 4th slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the 4th slate, You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to... However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the Opera House? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why that whale does not belong to Teyvat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising, and once it has finished...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again, once it's managed to...
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practical. Even if the entirety of Teyvat were to be destroyed, it could still survive.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just—
Indeed. That's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods. Could things be happening in ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Teyvat's future.
What's happening with the Oratrice?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Furina!
No, I still need answers!
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
You are not Furina. Who are you?
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success.
Focalors. What?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too. The heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible— I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this, I had to outwit the heavenly principles. Allow the prophecy to be fulfilled. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I—
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand.
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the great— After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Furina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so all part of the plan, of course. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Furina to be an actress under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to— Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Furina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been— and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.
wanted you to come onto the stage. Now, I understand your admiration. All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my performance. Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalors. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must at all Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon enough. My apologies. Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Furina. Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are—
Be not nervous. Be not afraid.
Wait a moment. You're Mirror Me?
Mirror
Me.
the prophecy.
What prophecy? Wait. I know. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne.
Oh.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly. The only thing I know for sure is this prophecy.
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will come to Fontaine sooner or later. Things will develop just as—
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontaine—
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Oh, so there's still hope. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that but if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side, and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the scales should tilt?
I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I
play as...
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But
how will I do this? A human assuming the role of a god without being exposed.
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into being a human yourself. I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity.
I'm still not sure I understand. So, how long am I going
to accomplish this mission? You will have to stay on the stage for many, many years. You will endure and not grow old, but I promise you, all will eventually end in a magnificent and dramatic trial. And
a trial, huh? The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession, but this is my first time facing the people. What should I say? Or like a god? To be honest, I still don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening! And I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. In truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor to guide you all. As the god Focalors, the god of justice, I shall do all within my power to lead you into an age of fairness. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future... this should do it. I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able to convey my thoughts just...
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity...
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest. What's the difference between her and an ordinary...
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen.
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being a fate? Right. Myrmie said that I just need to play... Calm down, Furina. Think. Assertive, with a strong sense of presence. One who can just... Oh, very good, my people. Only ones such as you are deserving of my rule. Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and claim ownership of this opera house. Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you are qualified to witness wondrous trial. You may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was... Now then, let us be
so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside an opera?
Her personality. It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before.
Such a fascinating and bold deity. How wonderful! Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, Keep faith in your ardor for we have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is most fragrant when it blooms amid sin. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fairness and may law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and drink to the future of Fontaine! There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. So long as I, the Archon Focalors, stand within the Opera Epiclese, so long as I stand before the Oratrice, I shall even judge the gods of this world!
Lady Furina, here are today's case reports, as well as a summary of the follow-up for your perusal.
Come now, was I not just at the Opera House in person? Leave these kinds of things to Neuvillette. Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
If I may be so impertinent, what kind of trial are you truly looking forward to?
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial. A trial to...
That's true, I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought, Lady Archon.
No need for fright, and do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now, do your duties. The trial...
Lady Furina, I don't know what to say.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of perseverance instead. Long have you stood in line to meet me, have you? Oh, I'm afraid that's just... All right. Deoteria, is it? How...
You remembered me. He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an ardent believer than I. He was the one who forced me to seek an audience with you, and to bring your words back to him.
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen again in the future, please do not hesitate to come and tell me. Going down to citizens' homes every so often, while not usual practice, should serve as a fine change of pace.
You're such a gentle and wise god. Thank you once again, on behalf of my son.
Lady Furina, here are the latest hydrological reports. As for the specific parameters you asked to take note of, I'm afraid things still don't look good.
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but I wanted to see how far... All manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to pass. Forget it.
Well, as I understand it, the Fontaine Research Institute is also trying to find a way to counter the rising water levels.
Really?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective solution thus far.
Oh, is that so? Well, no wonder. This issue has reached the realm of the gods, after all. Still... The day is finally over. But it's good to see that everything's getting on track. Maybe this is fine. I just need to keep... Alright, Furina, don't think too hard about this.
Lady Furina, here are the new trial reports for the latest cases, as well as a summary of the follow-up.
There'll be no need for that. I've seen them already. There's no need to go...
Lady Furina, I've... waited...
Indeed, my dear, loyal citizen.
Lady Furina, we're detecting significant hydrological...
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed should anything... I don't think I let anything... I just... don't... I feel utterly exhausted. Best to rest early.
Lady Furina, it's like a dream. I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with you was Madame Dio.
And what a fine family yours is indeed.
Surely you Oh, are you crying?
Really now? I didn't even notice. This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the...
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power, then. Oh, Archon, I am honored.
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. But I never imagined that it would hurt so much. Have I reached my limit? I want to tell someone, anyone. I've conducted so many investigations across the centuries. But all I can do is keep heart. I must
Farina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone, your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right.
But even if your burden does, just share it with me.
A witness. Yeah, and if Teyvat is in its entirety. She's right. I could confirm, but if things don't play out as expected. No, Farina. But what if. Oh, Farina, you've worked so hard for so long. Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone in whom you can confide your frustrations and sorrows? Sure, if you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, it might never think about it. Long and hard. No, I have nothing to say. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness.
Fine.
So even Farina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the
Yes, it had to be done. She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in these 5 centuries, it seems that trusting humanity was the right decision.
I believe that I understand how your deception works, but that is only half the truth, is it not? How would you build on this foundation to save the people of Fontaine?
Ah, good, good. Of course the Iudex of Fontaine has pinpointed. I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple machine, yes?
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness. And Lyney did mention that he heard a human voice within the core chamber. It now seems that that person was you, hidden within the...
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontaine's gnosis with me. Yes. Alas, in truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact, a device created to kill the god of justice. Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice. I mean, did you my work over these last 500 years? But really, some have already discussed. The vast majority has.
It was all a part of your plan, then? Both the trial and the sentence?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained. But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne, shaking the rules established by Celestia, and breaking through the institution that is the Seven.
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Furina nor the destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your intent, you...
Returning what's right, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet. Sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient...
All you've done throughout the years.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm... Deception worked. Hydro Dragon, Hydro Dragon... I must say, had it been... Egeria stole the power of the Primordial Sea. And the Heavenly Principle stole... I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that, speaking of justice, I have always believed that... So, if the theft of the Primordial Sea's might was then... Leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontanians as humans and their right to exist in this world would be Fontaine's original justice. In other words, existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live on. That should be the justice enthroned over at this point. We, whether it be myself or all other Fontanians, Iudex Neuvillette, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign.
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Iudex, I see now that that was your... At last, I now understand the true purpose behind... In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Focalors. Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.
The hour of my execution is on. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Neuvillette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
Iudex Neuvillette, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
What just happened?
Was that bright light some sort of misdirection? I have a feeling that something huge just happened.
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved, I assume whatever happened was good for us.
It's time to end this. We must meet.
Didn't you say just a moment ago that
I have gained the strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, we should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry. Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice. The root of the calamities befalling Fontaine, the beast that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring Narwhal. Come with me, traveler. done my best to safe from the way. Considering the size of the beast, I cannot reach the power source. Unless we can find a way to attack it from within. Prepare a part of the ancient dragon's power. Look for an opening to gain.
Sakura Swirl!
Sorrow coming in instant.
Into the wind.
wind knows it. Time to go.
My will embodied!
The all-devouring narwhal cannot resist its instinct to devour. Continue to trigger its hostility. Chance will present itself.
Into the wind. Sha!
I have granted you my protection. Do not fear. Seize the moment and use my power to suppress its root from within.
Unleash! Hold the line! My apologies!
The wind knows it. One with nature.
Cryo incarnate! Billowing surge!
Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Manifest! Whirling snow! Embrace the ice!
The wind knows it.
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but it was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the meantime. Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought. What a blunder. I suppose I'll have to swing my sword 3 million times as penance.
That power.
Paimon has an idea. From what she said earlier, she must be Child's master. It's just that he gave us the impression that she was the less talkative person.
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other hand, managed to defeat the all-devouring, so you may speak to me as equals. I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted on it. It's not cooperative. It eats too much. And I have more important things to do with my time than pet sitting. The only thing that creature has going for it is its looks. All in all, it fails as a pet.
Miss Skirk? I think...
The point be...
Well, being that this pet almost destroyed an entire... So what sort of person is your master? Well, Child's master's master. Wait, is that right?
Oh, right. So you don't know him. Sorry, his name is Sertologi.
Huh?
I am unfamiliar.
Huh. So Master isn't sufficiently famous. How should I describe him then?
The Foul?
Still nothing? Well, how about the Visionary?
Ooh, that one we've heard. Rhine Doctor's part of the Hexen Circle. She's Albedo's mom, right?
Oh, so you do know that name. To be honest, I also heard all of those names, but I suppose you understand now, yes? My master is likely a similar sort to Rhine-Daughter. They are both pursuing some form of perfection.
Wait! Didn't you also mention a visionary person? Paimon didn't quite catch their name.
Actually, never mind that. I believe it expedient to inform that the all-devouring narwhal used up nearly all its strength fighting you. Such roiling hydro energies will prove difficult for the planet's deep seas to digest. As such, the Fontaine back on the surface has most likely been thrown into chaos. In other words, the prophecy that you've been fretting over should now be in full swing.
What?
Not to worry. Fos.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only Furina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Hey! Help! Over here!
All hands, initiate emergency rescue!
Hurry!
Hey, lend a hand!
Look! The water's receding!
It's a miracle!
Water's receding.
We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong! The prophecy was wrong!
Are you alright?
We're saved. The prophecy was wrong.
So this is a day in the life of the Traveler. Learning more about you all the time.
Charlotte? Who's your friend?
Please, with the cherry on top, Charlotte. I read that a gang of criminals tricked the Gardamex by disguising themselves as blubber beasts. I've invested all my savings into Graph Adversarial. I'm begging you like the beggiest.
I need you to calm down a little, Miss Lapine, Pauline. I admire your passion for your research, and I don't mean to dash your hopes for those, but I'm afraid I'm not joking. The Blubber Beast incident was a short story. Funnily enough, but to our surprise, in truth, since we ran that, so I knew this.
Uh-oh. She really... Hey, Charlotte!
Traveler, Paimon, it's you. I was in the area taking... She read an art inspired by the... She was hoping I could... But unfortunately...
This is a new situation for us. It's such a pity. It seems...
Wait. Miss Lapine, Pauline!
I'm gonna pick a fight with a Gardamex. Head to that way. I won't have to repay my...
Whoa! There's no need to go that far. Actually, instead of going into the tickets... Okay, well, escape...
Not anymore. It's not just my savings that are gone. It's my... my life.
Don't despair, Miss Lapine. This prototype you've given me, the camera length, the rapid focal length adjustment is a very useful... So your research... Absolutely. So keep calm.
I can't... If this is true... Oh, maybe...
Come on! Stop daydreaming!
And I can probably speak to some people. There's no time to lose. I need to get to work. Early bird gets the worm.
Can you believe her? Paimon's pretty sure our advice...
It's understandable. But don't you worry. Her research...
It's reassuring to know that you'll be...
Actually, it takes the right...
Thanks a lot! What a nice...
You're welcome. The boundaries... Yes, that's how I'll...
Time to go.
The Soul Renewed! The Spina di Rosula talks post-disaster rebuilding. I recently visited Poisson to meet with Miss Navia, spokesperson of the Spina di Rosula. And old soil can still give birth to new bloom, Miss Navia stated. Hope is like seeing a small cookie when you're starving late at night. You just need a little of it. Skyship Winglet, Booner Brain of the Fontaine Research Institute. The various disputes that have arisen on account of Mr. Edwin have suddenly become a shield over the Institute, with Jurier turning out to be a once-overlooked hidden gem. People always call the first researcher mad, but few know what to call the second. And should that latter person achieve a miracle... Wow! Paimon barely recognizes the people in the reports! Are those really Jurier and Navia? They sound like real big shots!
What do you think? Pretty enthralling, huh? The Steambird's idea was pretty simple. With the disaster just having passed, the value for these big scoops lies in their inevitable follow-ups. We'll publish further reports and go into the stories behind those people. Edwin's assistant, Jurier, created a true flying ship, while Navia...
Paimon's curious too!
And that's exactly exactly why I'd like you to come conduct interviews with me. You're the best incubators of news, if you haven't noticed. And also, with you around, I'm sure I'll get to—
Are you sure? Hasn't he turned you down several times already?
Oh, this time will be different. Come on! Let's head to Poisson first, and then make a trip.
I wouldn't go any further if I were you.
Wherever in this world I roam, I carry memories of my home. This blade, it is the last link I have to the land of my birth.